Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Monday. It is going to be a nice day for us to get back on the grind here. Currently 28 degrees, so it is chilly right now, but it's going to be a high of around 55 by dinner time. And we will have some chance of rain overnight, and it's probably going to be a rainy day tomorrow. Um, but today is going to be uh, a nice spring day. 6:04 is the sunrise and 7:33 is the sunset. And so we're in a study of John, and we're in John chapter 18 as we come into Easter this weekend. We're we're gonna follow this narrative up to the cross, and um, so Jesus has been delivered over to Pilate, and Pilate addresses the crowd, the Jews, um, and um, he's Pilate is trying to kind of get out of doing their bidding. He doesn't want to. Um, he says, take him yourselves and judge him by your own law. That's verse 31, chapter 18 and verse 31. Um, but the Jews, they said to him, it's not lawful for us to kill. So they the Roman ordinance, they made a Roman ordinance that the Jews couldn't kill, right? They weren't allowed to put anyone to death. So they threw that back at Pilate, and you know the really they didn't want to do the killing of Jesus because they wanted to remain clean for the Passover meal. So they were using the law of the land for their in this case for their benefit, right? For their benefit. And so Pilate entered back into his headquarters again and called Jesus and said to him, "Are you king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you say this of your own accord, or did others say it to you about me?" Pilate answered, "Am I a Jew? Your own nation and chief priests have delivered you over to me. What have you done?" Okay, so you know the question I find the question that Jesus asked him, do you say this of your own accord, or do others say it to you about me? Interesting, because Pilate, being appointed by Emperor Tiberius, it would never see anybody else as a king of any people, because the Romans thought they were rulers of all people, right? So Tiberius, Pilate's emperor, would be king of the Jews and king of everybody else for that matter, right? So the the question that Jesus answered him back um, starts to distinguish his lordship and his kingship, and the the because so if Jesus, the third one of the parts of Jesus is, I guess, ministry. He was prophet, priest, and king. So this establishes that part of his ministry with Pilate. And so Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world," right? So now he not only is he establishing that part of his ministry, but he's also um, ex- explaining to Pilate that his throne is in heaven, and he's not fighting for um, a piece of the Roman Empire, right? He's fighting for souls and spiritual well-being, spiritual placement, right? The placement of our souls when we die, right? In eternal life in heaven. And so he says in verse 36, "If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting that I might not be delivered over to the Jews, but my kingdom is not from the world." Then he separates himself from the Jews. See, Pilate said, the your own nation and chief priests have delivered you over to me. Well, Jesus is saying, my servants, if If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. So he's also separating his kingdom from the Jews in the chief priest. Not only that, his kingdom and his servants are not uh, part of it, but that he's over them as well as the king, and his kingdom is above or over, literally and figuratively, this world, right? So he's not fighting for this world. He's fighting for heaven, right? His heavenly place, his spiritual heavenly throne. Okay. Then he goes on to say to Pilate, or Pilate asked him, "So, are you king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am king." Okay. Jesus didn't say he was king. Pilate said he was king. You say I am king. For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. So Jesus states his purpose. His purpose isn't to be king of this world. He said, I was born for this purpose, and I have come into this world for this purpose, to bear witness to the truth. Right? This is the same Jesus being crucified for the same truth that we share today, that has been passed on to us by by his word, by the canon, and by the people who testified and bared witness to it and passed it down to us. And then he says, everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice. Right? See, those that hear his voice and his word abides in us, our hearts can bear his word, right? We are his servants. We are his subjects. We know the truth, and that is what separates us into the spiritual kingdom, right? The spiritual kingdom, the kingdom of Christ. Verse 38, Pilate said to him, what is the truth? After he said this, he went back outside to the Jews and told them, I find no guilt in him. I find no guilt in him. So, why then does he do it? Right? Why then does he do it? And one, so the scriptures are fulfilled, but it's political. He doesn't want to incite a riot. See, he wants to placate the Jews. He wants to, keep them happy to be in or under the Roman rule, right? He wants them to be happy under the Roman rule. Then he says, but you have a custom that I should release one man for you at the Passover. Do you want me to release you, the King of the Jews? They cried out again, not this man, but Barabbas. Now, Barabbas was a robber. And so, this account of Jesus's interrogation and turning over of Barabbas is also recorded in all the other Gospels, but in Mark, in the Gospel of Mark, Pilate, it reveals the heart behind the Jews. So in Mark chapter 15, we'll just start in verse 9. But Pilate answered them, saying, will ye that I release unto you the King of the Jews? So right here, do you want me to release the King of the Jews? Then it says, for he knew that the chief priests had delivered him for envy. But the chief priests moved the people that he should rather release Barabbas unto them. And Pilate answered and said again unto them, what will ye then that I shall do unto him whom you call the King of the Jews? And they cried out again, crucify him. Then Pilate said unto them, Why, what evil hath he done? And they cried out to him more exceedingly, Crucify him. And so Pilate, willing to content the people, released Barabbas unto them, and delivered Jesus when he had scourged him to be crucified. So, in the Mark account, the purpose for the Jews turning him over was envy, right? It was envy, and then it says he contented, wanting to content them, he did their bidding, right? Wanting to keep them content. See, a content person is willing to stay enslaved, right? That's what keeps us, walking with the devil and walking in our sin, right? And until we're not anymore, it's when we're content to be in it, when it's fulfilling something for us, even if it's a fake fulfillment, right? Like this was fake. Pilate didn't want to do this. He did it to keep him content, right? It was fake, right? Now, John chapter 19. Then Pilate took Jesus and flogged him. Now, I wonder if he did this to appease the mob, to keep them hushed, right? And the soldiers twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and arrayed him in a purple robe. So they're ridiculing Jesus' kingship, is what they're doing. The crown of thorns was to laugh at him, right? And the purple robe also. They came up to him saying, Hail, King of the Jews, and struck him with their hands. They started smacking him up. They started beating him up, right? And saying, Hail, King of the Jews, right? And these were Roman soldiers. And again, you see, no Roman would ever think anybody else to be king, right? So it was truly to humiliate, right? To humiliate Jesus, the Son of God. It's sad, right? It's sad that we've got God incarnate, God in the flesh, the King, and these people are using his position as the only begotten to ridicule him. And Pilate went out again and said to them, See, I am bringing him out to you that you may know that I find no guilt in him. Right? He died a Roman death, innocent of the Roman court. Right? So what's that say about the power of the Jews? That they were able to have an innocent man who was found innocent in Roman court die a Roman death. What's that say about the power of envy, the power of evil, the power of confusion and mob mentality?